Tell me, Libby, now we're talking about as we move forward post the pandemic, we are envisioning a lot of things. Like you mentioned about 4-hour work week, which Tim Ferriss also has written a book about how we need to rethink. We're also talking about the spaces for work. How do we need to redefine those spaces? When we talk about a 4-hour work week, what is exactly that you think it's being proposed?
Yeah, so I think, Tim Ferriss's book, which was fantastic, I read it, several times when it first came out. I think it's the 15th year, anniversary this year of the book. And I think, Tim himself would say he never actually meant it to be that you're only working for 4 hours a week, but it was a real pattern interrupt to say, a bigger version of what we have talked about, that people often, they think I'm going to go through my career and then I'm just hanging out for my one holiday a year, or I've got all these things I want to do when I retire. But then when they actually retire, they think, oh gosh, I'm really bored, or, I didn't really want to do that. And so this idea of putting off our life because of our work is really, I think, what the central message of the book was about. And, before flexibility became a widespread conversation and remote work, it was this idea that, you could restructure work to do project-based work, to, negotiate longer breaks or sabbaticals between different projects or, different things that you were doing, so that you weren't just postponing the rest of your life and everything you wanted to do until your annual leave or until you retired. And I think that concept now is obviously, really come to the front of mind after COVID, where that's exactly what people are wanting to do. We're seeing many companies offering permanent remote work. So, countries offering, digital nomad visas where you can go and live in the country without paying tax. Bali recently introduced this. So Bermuda has a digital nomad visa. There's like 25 different countries and territories now that are offering this. So, this idea is that you can actually do other things in your life that you think perhaps you couldn't have done at the same time before, when you were commuting to an office 5 days a week and then spending your whole week there.
Well, are you saying that 25 countries, including Bali, have given a work permit to people globally to go there and work?
Yeah, so they've got different arrangements for sort of each one. But yeah, this digital nomad visa where you can go there and you can work from the country. So in Bali, for example, if you go there on a digital nomad visa, you can work there for, I think it's 5 months at the moment, or 6 months, but they're proposing 5 years where you don't actually have to pay tax either. So this war for talent is actually becoming prevalent between countries. It's not just between companies anymore. Because Bermuda's program has found that I think it's already injected in 2 years around $28 million into their local economy. So, this whole landscape of work and the whole landscape of the war for talent is really shifting very rapidly.
Wow, a digital nomad visa. I don't know how much will our listeners be aware, but this is like the most amazing growth that's happened. Like, it's a post-pandemic growth, if I'm not wrong. It's so exciting. You can do it. And imagine everyone taking it, and the mental well-being is going to jump to next level with this. Less stress. Yeah. What do you think?
Exactly. Like, every time, this has been a conversation quite a lot recently in media. I've been speaking on, TV and radio because, everyone is so excited. I think I want to go and live in Bali, or, I want to go to Costa Rica where I can, have a much lower cost of living. And every morning before I start work, I can go surfing in the morning, or I can engage in conservation efforts in the biosphere there. It's this idea that you can go somewhere that is going to pursue a way of life or an interest that you have that previously we thought we didn't have the opportunity to do. And I think this is a really dramatic and exciting shift that has been a long time coming. And, that was a good thing to come out of COVID, because we were forced to work, almost overnight from home. And then all of the conversation around, well, we can't be productive, it won't work, that all just went away very quickly when we proved that that wasn't the case. And so now all these other possibilities are opening up.
So when we're talking about the flexible working spaces, Libby, do you think that that's also going to affect the monies that the employees are going to charge? Do you think that the payments, the wages, the remunerations, the fees is going to come down, or how do you envision that?
Yeah, look, I think it's obviously an interesting conversation, and I think there will be variations, obviously, based on the particular person and based on the industry and the job. But I think the reality remains that, good talent is really hard to find, and good talent is really hard to keep. And we have this declining demographic, declining people who are available to participate in the workforce. And so, anyone who employs someone who's fantastic will say, well, look, just because they want to work from, Bali for a few months, I'm probably not going to reduce their salary. Other companies have done that. I know in the US, they've said, look, it's not as expensive to live, say, in a rural area than it is in, say, New York. So we will make an adjustment for that based on the cost of living. So it does vary between industry and company, but on the whole, I think if we have this concept that, good talent is very difficult to find, then, that's probably where things will go.